again, and welcome to another edition of Pioneer Valley Life. I'm James Sullivan. We're here in the studios of Easthampton's E-Media. Today, my guest is Kim Chin-Gibbons. And there's a, what do you call that little thing there between your two names?
A hyphen.
A hyphen. There's a hyphen between Chin and Gibbons. And, Kim lives in Northampton, is that correct? And she is a musician, a photographer. She works in digital media, and she is also an apprentice for a guitar maker here in the Eastworks building where we are right now. And recently I met Kim because she had arranged to record a video for one of her songs up at the Three Sisters Sanctuary in, as Richard Richardson calls it, the land of Goshen. And we're here today, and we're going to talk about the song. We're going to talk about lots of different things. But one special thing that we're going to do is that Kim is going to perform the song here during the show. So whenever you're ready to perform that song, we'll do that, and then we'll come back and talk some more.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, well, great. I'm very glad to have you here.
Wait for me in the garden. 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 I was once a part of everything. Is a state of mind.
So we're back. Thanks for doing that song, Kim. And the name of the song is?
In the Garden.
In the Garden. And that is a song that has a lot of meaning in your life because it's, shall I say, dedicated to a past friend of yours.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I know it's a very sensitive subject, so I'm trying to respect that. And,
I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. And just a little bit of story is that it has to do with a good friend of yours that unfortunately met some bad circumstances in her life. But the two of you were friends because you are both, you and she were both adopted. And you were born in Cambodia. You said you left there at 9 months.
Yes.
Haven't been back. And I think she was from Bulgaria. Is that correct? And so you became friendly through different programs that you had been in together over the years and became very friendly. So the tragic end that happened in her life really affected you and still does, I'm sure. And that was the why you wrote the song, and I know you, as I said, you were up at the Three Sisters Sanctuary filming a video of the song in the Three Sisters Sanctuary, which is a garden in a lot of ways. So
Yeah.
We're all looking forward to seeing that, as I'm sure you are.
Oh, me as well.
Right. So I know that you said you got a lot of your start in the music business right down the street from the Three Sisters Sanctuary.
Oh, yes. I grew up going to summers at the Institute for the Musical Arts in Goshen, yeah.
Yeah. That's a great program for young women, or women, mostly young women, correct?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, yeah.
They even have recording programs that I can still technically go to even after all of this, but I've also interned there and stuff like that. But I've been going there since I was 9 years old.
Yeah. I went there to see Lake Street Dive one time.
Oh, that's awesome.
That was, yeah, I like that group. And I know Rachel Price goes there and teaches occasionally.
Yes, I went to one of her vocal workshops,
Yeah.
and I also sang with them on stage at Newport Folk in 2019.
Really?
It was one of the best experiences
I'll
of
bet.
my life.
I bet, yeah. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and the song that we heard is going to be part of a full album eventually, correct?
Yes, it's the second single I'm working on of an album that I'm writing called Coming Out, Math Rock and Morning Murder. The Morning Murder being my friend Jana Ivanova Abramowitz, who was killed in her home more than 2 years ago. And her birthday is this Friday on November 22nd.
Really?
Which is a month before mine. So
yeah, yeah.
we were never that far apart
Right.
in terms
right.
of relating to
Yeah,
each other.
Yeah, yeah. And so since then, you've been performing. I know your website says you perform with several bands, as well as being a solo performer.
Yes, I am in a 7-piece progressive rock band called Sunset Mission, and the solo band, those are the kind of two things that I'm doing right now.
Yeah. On your website, there is a video of you with that band, correct? Called 7848. We were talking about that, what that means before.
Oh, yes. 7848 is a song that was actually born out of an internet challenge, technically, that I participated in. She Shreds Media had their One Riff a Day competition a couple years ago, and I actually landed 3rd place for the riff that I made. And I remember just playing it in my room back when I lived in Woonsocket, Rhode Island. I was just playing it over and over and over again, and I must have practiced it for 3 hours before recording that video that they ended up posting about it. And then I was like, well, I guess I have to make the whole song now.
Right. From a riff to a song, yeah, yeah.
And it has, yeah.
That's the way it goes, I think, for songwriters, right? You come up with a riff, and you go, oh, that sounds good, and then, when you write a song, do the lyrics come first, or does the music come first, or does it vary?
The two things come to me separately, but it's usually a musical idea that I'm repeating over and over again, and I usually pair it with a feeling that the words kind of call to me, I guess is the best way of putting it.
Yeah. So is this the first song on the upcoming album, or have you already written others?
7848 is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, where are some of the places you've played with this band?
Well, we mostly were playing house shows.
Okay. Yeah.
And we really wanted to be in control of every single variable. So our lead guitarist was sound engineering and everyone else. We have a very complicated setup with as many people as we do, and we wanted to hear very specific things and have very technical elements involved. So we had entry-level in-ears hooked into a whole rig, and it was very hard to bring from place to place. So we were just like, why don't we just do this in our home?
Yeah. So you did it in your home. It wasn't like you went out for people's houses and did house concerts for people.
It was in our guitarist's home, in Alston.
In Alston?
Yeah.
Is that where the band is based?
Pretty much. We're rehearsing in Worcester for a while, and now we're kind of on a hiatus to work on the second album.
Yeah. And how did you end up out here in the Pioneer Valley?
Well, I was raised here. Like you said, I was born in Cambodia, adopted at 9 months, and then I was raised in Amherst. And I actually went to Marlborough College, which is where I met all the prog musicians, and that was after probably like 6 or 7 years of being a folk musician and playing in indie rock bands.
What do you prefer to do these days?
I like the solo baritone guitar rock stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw you have a video on your website about the baritone guitar. What is a baritone guitar?
Well, the baritone that I got was actually owned by T-Bone Wolk of Hall & Oates. And a collector, brought it in as a consignment guitar at Downtown Sounds, where I worked at the time during the pandemic.
Yeah.
And I saw it and I played it and I was like, oh, this is, this has to be my first layaway pit.
Yeah.
And I saw that someone else was going to buy it maybe, and I was just like, oh no, I should do it. So I was like, hey, can you put this in the back for me? Like.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the pickguard was actually made at my friend Elias Contouris' studio. We made a resin epoxy pour together, and I thought it was a throwaway piece until I cut it open and book matched it, and the inside was the treasure.
Great. Yeah. And so you are an apprentice at a guitar maker here in the Eastworks building. What are you doing there?
Yes, I apprenticed with Trevor Healy at Healy Guitars, and it's funny, after I made that pickguard, I brought it to him to show him, and also I was working on a 7-string body with Elias that I brought to him as well, and I asked him if he wanted to help me finish it up, and he was like, I think you've got something special going on here.
Great, great. Is this a Healy guitar, or is it?
No, this is actually a PRS. And this actually has a really cool story to it too, because even though the guitar itself is not a rare model, it was actually given to me by a dear friend's father. I homeschooled with my friend who did the 7848 music video.
Yeah.
He's a videographer. His name is Tobias Lamontagne, and his father is Ray Lamontagne.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And he gave me this guitar, and he was going to give it to Tobias, but Tobias plays left-handed. So I was next in line at the time, and I just love the way that it sounds, and I've used it on so many different things, and I can see a little chip right there from it aging.
Yeah. No, you have to be very protective of the, even though you carry it around in a case, it has to come out of the case at times. Right. So what do you hope to accomplish, say, in the next year or two?
That's a really good question, because I've been trying to make an album for what it feels like 6 years or something like that, and I grew up in the folk scene around here, and at one point I was playing with Tobias in this band called Parlysium, and I was also playing with a female rock trio called Zoki, which kind of formed through the Institute for the Musical Arts, and we were gigging all around town, and then we stopped playing together. But I was like a folk musician until I got thrown in this world of like Pain of Salvation, Ritual, Animals as Leaders, and then I had like an identity crisis in between that.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I feel this duty to make a solo record, and then when Jana died, I just ended up making so much music for her.
Yeah.
And it was really powerful. It was the only way to process my pain, really, in a way that felt like it was not just healthy, but sustainable. I felt a need to also really just get it all out.
Yeah.
Kind of like right now how it's cold season and we're all just trying to get all this gunk out, you know?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of this music is coming out and finally starting to be processed in that land between idea and like released song, and it's finally moving forward in the way where I'm planning recording sessions and having shows to present them at, and also I graciously got the Assets for Artists grant from Mass MoCA as well, so that has been a wonderful support for the work that I've been doing, and I just hope to release a record.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's my main goal.
Yeah. So do you have to hire like a producer and an engineer and stuff like that, or are you doing a lot of it yourself?
I started doing a lot of it myself. The folks in Sunset Mission are so talented and have been doing DIY stuff since they were like 12 or something like that. So I've learned a lot from them, and I also feel the need to try out different things, work with different people. So there are probably going to be like 3 or 4 different studio recording sessions in terms of all that stuff coming together for the one album. And I've also been recording with my friend Inky Cohen of Bridge Press Records in Brattleboro, Vermont.
Great. Do they, up at the, in Goshen, do they, I think they've closed down some of their programs there in terms of teaching. Is that correct? But do they still do engineering and other classes that they used to do?
I think, I mean, they have the studio recording program, which I've done a couple of times.
Yeah.
And they have teen, preteen. Sometimes they don't have things available. I think that was more during the pandemic and stuff like that when enrollment was different.
Yeah.
But they still have all of those programs.
That's great, yeah. Because I thought I read something that June Millington had said that they were kind of phasing out over time. But it's good that they're still doing that. You know,
Yeah.
it's a little known fact that that place exists up there in Goshen, as well as a little known fact that right down the street is the Three Sisters Sanctuary.
Yeah.
And you know, both places are great. You know, so I know Richard liked having you there at the sanctuary,
Oh, I'm glad.
and you know, it really provided a great backdrop, you know, for the song in the garden, because it's although it's called the Three Sisters Sanctuary, I know Richard thinks of it more as gardens, but you know, there's different aspects to the overall garden. Each little place, like where we talked, the Dragon's Den, but you know, there's all sorts of other places where they have had performances in the past, and people come there to record. So, how did you hear about the Three Sisters Sanctuary?
I just ended up going with my mom one day when I was like 14 or 15, probably because we were going to the camps.
Yeah.
And we were driving, oh, what's that? And we pull over to the side of the road, and I just remember being amazed, you know, taking so many pictures,
Yeah.
being really inspired. And when I was thinking a lot about the song and the music video, Where is the Garden, it was one of the first places that I thought of.
Yeah.
Just a place of such beauty, and ended up feeling like it was related to grief.
Yes.
And then when I went to talk to Richard, he told me about the Circle of Life exhibit, and
Yeah.
he was like, you should definitely check it out. And
Yeah.
I just was amazed at how well our visions fit together, even though we didn't know each other. I was this random girl calling him up being like, hey,
Right.
can I film a music video
Right.
in
Yeah.
your space? And he graciously let us run around with cameras.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. You mentioned before that you had a grant. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I received a grant from MassMocha's Assets for Artists program, and I also get like 6 months of business coaching. I actually just had a Zoom meeting last night, finances for musicians, and it's all so much information, and it's like made to help the career of other artists.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. Sounds great. Very timely.
It's so timely. Yeah, I was gonna fund this out of pocket too, and so it's really nice that there are programs that just are more inclusive to all different kinds of artists of all disciplines as well.
Yeah. 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 And Mass Mocha, pretty well known.
Yeah. Amazing program.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm shocked. Every day I wake up and I'm just like,
No, that's a great feeling to have, isn't it? To start out your day that way. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Well, great, Kim. It's been very interesting and entertaining to talk to you, as well as to hear your song.
Oh, well, thank you so
I'd
much.
like to thank you for being here today, and we'll see how your career goes, and maybe you can come back again.
Absolutely. I'm so excited to release In the Garden because it's also featuring a guest musician from Sweden, Fredrik Lindqvist of the band Ritual, which is one of my favorite bands of all time, and it's exceptional work.
Great, great. Okay, thanks very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay.